Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today I'm going to show you how to create creative melody effects using various plugins. Let's hop straight into it. We're going to jump into FL Studio. So these plugins are not necessarily with the actual program. I'm actually going to use my own plugin called Hades at BusyWorksBeats.com/Hades to start off to show you guys how to mangle melody. So here's some loops from Sourceware Audio. You guys might know him as my best friend Jacob. Okay, so let's take this. Let's show you guys how to flip melody. So when you guys have melody loops, the main thing you're going to be doing is adding effects and chopping it up to make it sound different, like it's a sample. So here we're going to cut off the past 16 bars mark. Let's hit Control L to send it to the mixer. And let's just see what Hades can do to this sound. Okay, so every sound's completely different. We're going to treat it different, but first let's turn it off. Okay, so I'm listening to the texture of the melody. So it has delay on it. It has some delay, some pitch modulation. So what we can do is add stuff to it, but we don't want to overly pitch modulate because it's already pitch modulated. So let's add Hades right here, and let's just loop the beginning here and figure out ways we can enhance this. So with my plugin at BusyWorksBeats.com/Hades, you guys can find it there. Let's make this a little bit wider. And let's really enhance the side image here. Now I want to really mess with the pitch, so we're going to push the input gain into Hades and it creates a really special effect here. You have to push the input gain into it. Hear that? It's like a guitar pedal effect. So we're going to pull up the attack here for the pitch attack. Now if you want more of the effect, pull this down. I'm going to pull that up so it doesn't have that sound. Let's add a little inferno to create harmonics. Hear that ripping tone? Okay, so now it has a vibe to it. Let's add some sizzle. Then nextly, we just want to pull up the levels here. So here's before, just to show you guys. You know, the loop sounds good, but we're trying to give it a vibe for this track. Here's after Hades. We could pull back the inferno if you guys want less of that fire sound. Pull that back a little bit. So again, here's before. Here's after. It gives it a dimension. Okay, so that's the cool part about Hades, is that it creates a unique sonic texture and a dimension. Okay, now let's hear the rest of the melody. So here's before. Well, that's not volume matched, so let's just turn it off and on. Here's after. See how it gives it like a dimension here? Okay, so it really brings loops to life. That's what I love about Hades, is that you could use it in many different ways. To show you guys, let's grab some loops from some other great folks. AAR Productions made me some loops for this album, so let's see what he has in his samples folder. I'm just picking random stuff too, just to show you guys. So this is 71 BPM. Let's send this to the same mixer channel, which it was 2. So again, here's before. I'm gonna turn up the input a little bit. Here's after Hades. Now like I said, every setting doesn't go on every sound. This is what makes Hades unique, is because you're going to use it differently for different sounds. So firstly, let's turn down the input gain. You could double click to reset the volumes here. I don't want Inferno on the sound unless you really want to create like a Kanye type vibe, but we're not going for that for this one. Let's turn up let's just mess with the width tilt, and then let's mess with the vibrato here. Let's go back. So that's the exaggerated vibrato. Let's pull this back. Let's pull up some of that mid. I'm gonna mess with the compressor real quick. And then we're gonna push the sides to create this nice kind of like creamy spread of the sound for better sonics. And we can keep messing with the threshold. So these two go hand in hand, the side gain and the threshold. Start adding all the enhancements here. It's a pretty unique sound. Again, here's before. I just want to show you guys. Here's before. Here's with Hades. See how it really just pulls you into a different world? Here's before. Here's after. Okay, so Hades truly is one of my favorite plugins because of the way it came about. Was actually not an accident, but the first way the plugin was completely different than how it ended up. All right, so let's look at Ado Sounds. Let's look at his. He has some like loops in here from his private stash. Let's do melody. Now he already has a lot of effects on his sounds. But let's see what we could add to it. So let's run the same preset. Again, here's before. And then here's after. See how it just grabs the listener? All right, so that's one thing you guys can do is really mess with Hades. It has a lot more in there that you can mess with, especially with drum loops. Let's see if we can find something dope here. These look like separated drums. So we'll run a drum break through it just to show you guys. I think I have drum breaks on here. Drum breaks. Okay, so let's grab this one. We're at 91 BPM. I just want to show you guys how much stuff we can do in this one plugin. Let's go all the way back. And then we'll move into other plugin chains here. So let's send this to Mixer Channel 2. And then on drums, I use this a little bit differently. So for this, we're going to load up a new instance so that we could just start with all. Now, this plugin is only for PC currently. I do plan on having Mac version very soon. But you can find this at busyworksbeats.com/Hades. Okay, let's load this up. Okay, so now we have the bass. We're going to pull up the rumble. So think of like how knock adds that bottom end to your sound. I basically built in knock inside of this plugin. Not the exact everything about it, but for the most part. Okay, we can use the clipper threshold to start adding that crunch. You guys can hear that crunch. Let's add some more rumble here. If you're crazy, what you could do is, you know, pull up the input gain on this plugin, and it creates like a guitar pedal effect. Usually I only use this for melodies, but you guys can mess with it for your drums. Also keep in mind that does affect the clipper threshold. But for this sound, it's adding like a DJ scratch type sound. We're going to pull up the attack. Okay, we can also mess with the Inferno. Now this does push the sound back, so I only use this for like melodic stuff most of the time for harmonics, but you guys can push and then blend. Oh, I forgot the output was low. This one. So now we have the original, and then we have, let's actually route this to channel 1. We're going to send that as a duplicate over to channel 2. This way we can keep the mix level at 100%. And then now we're just going to monitor the levels here. So what I'm doing is I have the original drum. I'm duplicating it. I'm sending the duplicate over to Hades. We're processing it with heavy distortions, and then we're sending it out. Okay, so I've essentially, this is why Hades is so multi-dimensional. I'm going to use that on the marketing now. It's so multi-dimensional because it's more than just, you know, like a melody tweak thing. You could also use it on your drums. So here's before. Here's after. So now the drums feel like they're coming from a real place. And then, you know, my ultimate glue would add gold clip on my final mix to really add that crunch to the sound. All right, so now that we understand the basics of Hades, let's get into more complex stuff. I'm going to move a little bit quicker here because I realize if you guys don't have the fundamentals, it's always going to just be very vague of what I'm doing here. Let's find it. See what we can find. Okay, so let's start with this one. This is by Travis Marsh. Or excuse me, I keep saying Travis Marsh. Todd Pritch. We were in a session with him and Travis Marsh in LA. So let's pull this back. So this would be directly into Hades. That sounds actually pretty dope of a sound. Let's pull back that Inferno. I really like the sound. Let's add some vibrato to exaggerate it. Now this just needs a little more reverb to fill out the tail end of the sound. So here's before. So let's say I wanted to create my own custom chain. Let's add a patcher here. And here's where we're going to get really geeky. So I'm going to grab the Hades preset. We should be able to drag it inside a patcher. Click this drop down. I'm going to save preset as, and then you could drag it right inside of patcher. So now we have it in patcher. From here, I want a reverb. So I'm going to add another plugin. We're going to right click. I clicked a random plugin by accident. Let's do this again. All right, we're going to right click, add a plugin here. Let's do the kilohertz stuff just because it's really modular, I meant to say. And let's open up a kilohertz reverb. This is a free plugin bundle you guys can find at the, just type in kilohertz Essentials bundle. Okay, so here we have a reverb. So we're sending the sound to a reverb. I'm going to make it 100% mix level. And we could use this as a send knob. So if I turn this down, we get less reverb. If I turn it up, we get more. So now we're blending two different signals. We have the original going through Hades, and then we have a duplicate going through the reverb. And this is why patcher is important, because to do this in the mixer, you would have to do pretty complex routing most of the time. I can even have the reverb signal go through Hades. Instead of going out, we can right click to disable the output. So really, I should be just going straight in unless I have a different chain here. But technically speaking, this would be the equivalent of just having it like this. Reverb before Hades, so that... Okay, but we lose some of the strength of the signal, so let's send the original through. But we could also mess with the mix level to pull that back, but anyhow. So that's the reverb. Now let's just add things like granular pitch shift. Let's right click, let's insert a plugin here. Let's do the kilohertz pitch shifter. I'm gonna pull this up an octave. This adds granular delay, or granular artifact, I should say. Now it's hard to hear, so we're gonna route. For some reason, we're not getting signal on this one. That's kind of odd. This could be a glitch. Pretty sure it's a glitch. Let's try routing through. Yeah, so something was, I don't know, it just glitched on us. So now it's working. So now we're pitching up the reverb. We could also do the opposite and pitch it down. But we can pull the mix level back so that we have the original and the pitched up version. Let's add some delay after the reverb. Let's do the dual delay. And we can set this to time sync mode, and then so now we're just dialing in the sound here. Okay, so let's try a different loop. Alright, so patcher is another way you guys can really step up your melodic creative effects. So here's before patcher. Here's after. Let's take off some of the vibrato on this sound. Now, if you pull the mix level to anywhere between 0 and 100%, you're going to get a chorusy sound here. Phasey, chorusy sound. Let's take off the granular pathway. So what we could do is just route it straight to Hades and then just turn off the extra path. So it's a quick way to kind of try different effect chains quickly without going through and having to turn off a bunch of plugins. Alright, so that loop is pretty dope. Let's try a different one. So I'm interested with this one because it's more saturated of a sound. Let's turn this down. So the sound has a lot going on. See in Hades, let's see if let's turn the Brado off completely. Okay, so it's the strumming on that one that I didn't really. Now this one's pretty dope. All right, let's send this through Mixer Channel 2, and then we'll move on to one more technique, which is more of a production technique. So here's before. Whoa, it's loud. Let's make sure we turn down the reverb. Whoa, this thing's still loud, so let me fix these levels here. Here's before. It has a sound, but the question is, does it have a vibe though? Sounds good. Okay, but everything's just kind of there. It's not really doing much. So let's add the Hades chain. And now we feel that dimension. It feels like we took this from a sample. So again, here's before. And then here is after. Then we can pull the reverb back a little bit. So here's before, here's after. Even without the reverb chain, it has dimension, just with Hades. Reverb adds a little more density, a little more depth. All right, so that's the magic of it. Now let's do one more technique, and really it's a production technique more so than it is an effect. Let's take this loop for example. 157. So that's a very full sample, so let's turn it down. It looks super loud. I'm gonna route this to channel 2 just so we have our own custom sound on it. Let's turn on the chain. Forgot we had the clipper on. So again, here's before. Again, a very safe sound. Here's after. And now it just has that emotional resonance. Okay, so what we're gonna do with this is we need to lock it into the BPM. In this case, it's 157 BPM. We're gonna cut off the remainder, doesn't matter. What we're gonna do though is we need to make sure that whatever tempo the sample is, it needs to be in that BPM or else this won't work. So we're going to right click, consolidate track from track start. To save time, we're just going to loop 8 bars. We're not going to render out 24 bars. Let's just right click, consolidate tracks from track start. What we're doing is embedding all the effects that we just had. Okay, let's hit start. Now from here, what we're going to do is open it up in Fruity Slice. The reason why we're doing this is because now we have our own custom chops. So the thing is, with this, it added a subtle delay. So let's add this slip tool, hit Alt, left click, drag this to the left like this, and then we're going to make this unique as a sample. Go to the top left, go to make unique as a sample. That way it doesn't have that time gap in the beginning. And we're going to double click, right click, open in Fruity Slicer, slice by the beat. We're going to go to our channel rack, turn on the metronome. It should chop it at the beats. And now we can mess with the attack. So this is really good, the adding the attack, because this will allow the drums to hit first and then the sample comes in. So it adds like a little side chain that's very subtle to the sample every single time, you know, your drums are hitting, which is really important for drum groove. Also, we could change the tuning here. Let's pull this up 1200 cents. And what most people don't realize is that we can add this to the original. So let's go back. It might be a lot to process because this is a very full sound. So in that case, I wouldn't do it that way. But another thing we could do is add a note in Fruity Slicer. We could double click and make this a slide note. So we'll slide from this tuning down to that. Let's go all the way back. So you don't even need a tape stop effect. And this note can be anything. So this note is going to slide down to this. Depending on the gap, that's how much it will pitch bend the sound. I'm just using the same note to keep it simple. And we can also use the new FL Studio 2024 note repeat. If you grab the ellipses, pull this up in the piano roll, we could use note repeat to chop it up like an SP404. So like, dun, 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 dun. Let's do this right here. And the cool part is that you could do triplets, quarter timing, dotted timing. And now we have a bounce with just the sample chop. So that's a way you guys can create different sections for your melodies, pitch it up an octave and do cool stuff like that. And what we could do, like if you guys are trying to make this simple, we could right click, clone this, copy the notes, hit Control C, go to a new pattern, and then paste that into the clone version. And then on the clone version, we're going to pull the tuning up 1200 cents, which is an octave. So now we have both the original tuning and then one that's an octave higher. Let's go to the song mode to hear this. Alright guys, I won't make this video like 3 hours long. It's already long, but I want to thank you guys for watching. If you want to learn more about melodies, go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory essentials. I teach you the music theory, but also the creative effects we use for modern melodies. And if you want the Hades plugin, go to busyworksbeats.com/Hades. Hades. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new. It's busyworksbeats.com. Peace.